Let's go live now to CNN reporter Whitney Wild in Washington. Whitney, this was quite an extraordinary situation, wasn't it, with no audience for the two men to appear in front of. Who won the debate?
Well, it's hard to say who won. I think it depends on who you ask. And the debate was so different because the dynamics were so different. As you mentioned, there was no live audience, so there wasn't that, moment of a burst of audience applause, and there was no opportunity for the audience to push a candidate that they say don't like. In past debates, we see a much different dynamic as well between the two candidates. So former Vice President Joe Biden going up against Senator Bernie Sanders, it was just the two of them. And again, the dynamic was so different because these are two men who've known each other a really, really long time. They know each other's background very well. They know each other's record very well. They were unafraid to challenge one another on those records and on where they stand policy-wise. So it was competitive, but I would also say that the feeling within that debate was less adversarial and more, I would describe it almost like familial. Two people, again, who know each other very, very well, having a substantive policy debate. So very different from what we've seen in the past when people are looking for their Instagram moment, their Twitter moment, attacking the front runner, looking for those moments that are going to propel them forward. Instead, this was really a substantive policy debate, two men going head to head. Kieran?
And Whitney, before you go, I want to ask you about the broader reaction on this coronavirus, and particularly for the president. Initially there were some missteps. Is there a sense that he is now, and the administration is in control of the response here?
That is another question that very much depends on who you ask. Republicans are touting the president's message, very much getting in line. Vice President Mike Pence saying that every action that the coronavirus task force is taking is coming down from the White House specifically. However, Democrats, especially former Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Bernie Sanders, have been highly critical, questioning whether the administration had done enough at the outset of this virus to take precautions to prevent any further spread, namely questioning whether or not the U.S. should have brought in test kits from the World Health Organization to begin testing sooner. That has been one of the biggest storylines in the U.S. The perception on whether or not that was the right move depends on who you ask and largely which side of the aisle they fall on. Kieran?
Whitney, I appreciate the update. Thanks, live. Whitney Wild from Washington. Australia also got to mention during the debate the two candidates clashed over the issue of China. Joe Biden saying nations like Australia would question Bernie Sanders, who's praised China in the past for lifting its citizens out of poverty.
Did China make progress in ending extreme poverty over the last 50 years? Yes or no?
That's like saying Jack the Ripper.
No, it's not, Joe.
Yes,
you see,
it
Joe,
is.
this is the problem.
Yes, it is.
This is the problem. We can't talk. I know there's a political line. I understand. China's terrible, awful, nothing ever good. Russia, blah, blah, blah.
The idea of praising a country that is violating human rights around the world is, in fact, makes our allies wonder what's going on. What do you think the South Koreans think when he praises China like that? What do you think the Australians believe in the shadow of China?
Joe Biden there with Bernie Sanders in Washington at that extraordinary debate, no audience due to coronavirus.